Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 1 of the Steeler Culture. My name is Justin Ottstadt of SteelYinzers.com. And of course, I am joined with the Steel Twins, Dan and Rob. Guys, how's it going?
It's going great, man. Glad we can get episode 1 off the floor and get it up and lifting. What is hopefully the first of many. So it should be a good discussion tonight.
Yeah, we got a few different topics. We're going to talk about Aaron Curry. He supposedly is going to be coming in as a linebackers coach. We'll obviously talk about another coaching change that unfortunately happened 29 years. You can inform them who I'm talking about.
John
Coach
Mitchell, of course, the assistant head coach under Tomlin for so many years, but almost 3 decades with the black and gold, man. And he retires. You got to think, 29 years with one team. I mean, one company in general, but one team is it's a tremendous honor and something you can definitely hang his hat on. So
yeah, Coach Mitch, man, he's been around for a long time. He's been a few Super Bowls, and then of course I thought it'd be fun to give these guys 3 free agent targets. Obviously we each pick 3 targets. We're not saying that they're going to go after these guys. It's just we're having some fun with the offseason. And let's start with Coach Aaron Curry. What do you have there in regards to him?
Well, Aaron Curry is what I'm expecting to be the outside linebackers coach. It's not official by the team that he has been hired, but under his social media, under his Twitter, he's already put linebacker coach, Steelers. He already put a gif of the standard is the standard with the football medal frame. You see the Steelers punch as they walk out the locker room and into the tunnel. So it's not officially official, but official. Aaron Curry is expected to be the Steelers' new outside linebacker coach, as he was a coaching assistant and a defensive assistant, mostly for the defensive line and the defensive ends. The edge rushers primarily for the Seahawks under Pete Carroll. He played that role for probably like 4 years, which is kind of a pretty good number, honestly, because he was the 4th overall pick for Seattle back in 2009, and he worked under Pete Carroll and his coaching tree for 4 years as the defensive line assistant. So seeing him come in and take that Brian Flores role as working with the edge rushers, I'm excited what he can do with guys like Watt and Highsmith and depth guys we're expected to bring in. And another great note about him, he's only 36 years old, which makes him the youngest coach on the roster.
You know what's funny about that? Not to show my age, but I'm going to do it anyways. I'm actually 36, so he's as old as me, which ironically makes me feel old, if that makes any sense. But yeah, man, I think it's a good signing. How it works out, we'll have to wait and see. We can't really predict that.
No.
We try to every year, but I think we're starting to learn that in certain situations, depending on what we're talking about, better we don't talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron Curry he's a very quiet hire. He's a very quiet name because...
but it is an outside hire.
You're correct.
That's important.
It's very outside, and Tomlin could not stress enough that he respects and admires Pete Carroll and his career and his coaching tree, which has a good resume for itself. So getting someone like Curry, who's been under the Pete Carroll regimen and the coaching tree for 4 years, it's a good hire. I'm excited what he can do. So we'll see what the young guys got.
Yeah. Rob, do you have anything that you wanted to say about Aaron Curry in regards to like what your thoughts are?
I think this is a great hire. Honestly, I didn't even know that he was coaching. I knew who he was as a player, being the 4th overall pick back in 2009. Unfortunately, he didn't really turn out the way Seattle hoped.
Right.
And ultimately, he got benched for KJ Wright, who was a big part of that Legion of Doom defense in Seattle for many years. And he just fell out of the NFL, but ultimately found his resurgence in his football life as a coach, where he was a graduate assistant when he was hired by Charlotte, the 49ers, in college, and then he became the defensive line coach just a year later and held that position for 4 years, to which is where he actually coached Larry Ogunjobi.
Wow.
As well as had a little tie-in with Alex Highsmith. So he's going to have a little familiarity there, which is really cool. And last year he had great success with guys like Darryl Taylor and Uchenna Nwosu for Seattle's underrated defense. So talking about it now is getting me a little excited to see what he can bring to this defense.
Yeah, it's a new person, a new leg, as they say, for the Steelers, and there's going to be a lot more changes coming. I'm not sure if you guys wanted to transition to the free agent talk. I'm excited to get into that. And of course, in the future, we'll talk about some mock draft stuff. I know a lot of people are excited about that. But we got to get through free agency first.
Yes.
That's the first step, and then we move to the mock draft stuff. I think the way we're going to do this is we'll start with you, Dan. We'll move to Rob, and then myself, and we'll keep going until we give our 3 picks.
Okay. Well, if you guys have been watching us for a little while, pretty much the entire offseason, we could not stress enough that we need a left tackle. We need to fix that left side line. And I hope they do that a little bit in free agency because that adds so much flexibility. And a couple other positions they need to do that to add extra flexibility is defensive tackle and inside linebacker, most importantly. Now, those 2 positions are stacked in the draft, so if they want to wait, I don't blame them. But getting a proven name and making some splashes is always a plus as well. I'm going to focus on left guard first because I think that's what they need to do. Getting a veteran guy is important, and then you only have to focus on one glaring hole on the O-line.
There's definitely some names out there as far as free agency goes. And by the way, you know, the guys that we're going to name here, we're not saying they're going to, and a lot of it's going to depend on whether or not the Steelers make enough cap space. That's important to mention. So.
Yeah, which hopefully those moves are coming very soon. It's very expected to. But my first guy, and one of my favorites, one of my guys on my wish list, Dalton Risner, left guard from the Denver Broncos for a number of years. He worked under Mike Munchak, of course, as we know, as a former Steelers offensive line coach. He was one of the better guys on that line, almost in every game starter, very, very rare when it came to injuries, very reliable. Still very young, too. He's going to be 27, 28 shortly, so still very young, and I think we could get him at a pretty decent price, maybe a little over $10 million a year, but someone that would be a decent splash, but someone that is dependable, a trustworthy starter, and definitely an upgrade at left guard.
I like it. I mean, left guard is going to be one of those positions, like I said, that they're going to have to fill because, as you guys know, who's at left guard there?
Kevin Dotson.
Kevin Dotson hasn't really worked out.
No.
Like we thought. There was a lot of penalties. He's had some other issues over the years that haven't really been proven, but I always say if there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
Right? So, I don't know, man. I feel like left guards, I think the entire line needs a little reworking outside of Cole and Daniels at right guard, but we'll see what happens. I do like that pick, though.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of other guards out there, but Reisner's just one of my guys.
Right.
He might cost a little bit more money compared to the others out there, but I think the pay is worth what we could get for him. My second position I'm going to look at is defensive tackle. This guy comes to no shock. A Pittsburgh reunion would be very nice. I know he just turned 30 like last week, but man, could we really use him back? And I think he still has at least 3 more good prime years in him. Javon Hargrave.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned that to me earlier today.
Yeah.
And, at first when you said that name, I was just like, I don't know, the age.
He is older.
But I'll make a point not to kind of take away here, but when you look at Hayward, it's a very similar, in regards to age, he's still productive.
And he's coming off 11 and a half sacks and where the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. Getting him beside Hayward again would be an incredible addition to the line. A reunion would definitely be something I think all of us would adore. But we just need a guy like Hargrave on the line. I hated when we got rid of him. I know the cap situation was a little iffy, especially with the whole
seems to be the case all the time with the Steelers, man.
You're right. It still is today. We've gotten out of worse situations, so I trust the front office to get us out this hole again. But, God, I mean, getting rid of him was always a rough decision. But getting him back, I mean, it's kind of hard to pass on that. There's many other guys out there we could bring in and still be solid fits, but Hargrave, man, he's a Steeler favorite.
Mm. And who's your third guy?
I'm going to throw a curveball here.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to go linebacker, and everyone knows who the obvious is. And I'll let you guys, I don't know if any of you guys have it on your list, but I'll let you guys talk about it. Many other names out there, right? I went with a young guy. He worked beside Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw with the 49ers. He didn't have too much of a productive year last year. That's because he didn't play as many games. But I'm going to go with Aziz Al-Shaair. Like 25, 26 years old, 6'2", 230. He has the speed. He has the physicality. He has the smarts, and he absolutely has the athleticism we need at the linebacker position, which is, I don't know if it's just me. It seems like every linebacker we've had since Shazier outside of Bush and maybe Jack has just been stiff. They've just been limited athletically.
Yeah, and that's been a big issue.
We need an athlete, and that's what Shire brings, man. He's someone under the radar, someone cheap, someone still very young, a lot of room to grow. I'd love to bring this guy in and work beside Jack and pretty much fill linebacker.
I like that pick, man.
Yeah.
All right, I guess we can transition to Rob here. If you want to start with your first selection.
Well, my selections are very similar to his as far as positions go: left guard, defensive tackle, and linebacker. I feel like when it comes to free agency, those have to be the three that they have to look at and take care of to give them much more flexibility in the draft, because looking at the team, Steelers got too many positions to deal with and too many positions to fix and focus on. But left guard, defensive tackle, linebacker are my three positions I'm definitely going to be looking at in free agency. And I've been looking at some guys. As far as left guard goes, I'm going to start with left guard, just like Dan here. I do like Dolan Reisner. He's one of my guys that I would like the Steelers to get. I wouldn't mind him. But the one guy that, to me, I prefer over is Ben Powers, as he was the Ravens left guard the past few years. And looking at the Ravens situation, after giving Roquan Smith a big contract, over $100 million, I think, on his extension, and then the whole Lamar Jackson situation,
Which
of
I
what
believe
he
they're going
wants.
to be tagging.
Yeah.
So,
Looking at those situations, it's going to be hard to see Ben Powers stick around with the Baltimore Ravens.
right.
But the amount of offensive line needy teams looking to fix their situations, Ben Powers could be exploring those options. And I'm kind of hoping that one of them is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Left guard is a big need that they have to fix, just like left tackle. But I feel like left guard is a bigger situation, a bigger position to
A
focus on
bigger
in
need of
agency.
free agency, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at, like, the players that are available in the draft. You know, I don't think guards are as fruitful as the tackles that are available.
Yeah.
There's a few, but again, the Steelers have so many freaking needs.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there's better players at different positions that they can get a part of this roster. So
I would say the value for left guard is greater in free agency than is the draft.
Yeah.
Because the value at left tackle in free agency just isn't there. Rather in the draft, I mean, you can get guys day 2, day 1, obviously. So we'll see what they do. But yeah, Ben Powers, we know what he did for the Ravens in their rushing attack, one of the best for years. Obviously, his passing blocking grade has always been in the green.
Yeah.
Young cat as well. Obviously brings the AFC North football mentality. Keep him in the division, just switch teams, switch colors. It'd be a little weird, but, we'll bring him in.
I'm hoping that's a likely scenario for sure. My second guy, as far as defensive tackle goes, now the main guy that I want the Steelers to try to get is Daron Payne of the Commanders. But he's a young bull. He's a young guy. He's going to want a lot of money. He's going to get a big contract. And I think it's a very likely scenario that the Commanders are going to use their franchise tag on him. So I don't know how likely it is of Daron Payne to be a Steeler, as much as I want it to happen. So just like you, I think I'm going to have to agree with Javon Hargrave.
Okay.
I think, the connection there, how he started his career there, and unfortunately he did leave. It really hurt with him leaving. We haven't been able to find a guy to fill that hole yet outside of Alualu, but he stuck around for 2 years until he got older and more injury prone. And now defensive tackle is obviously a need, as the gap hasn't been closed since Hargrave was a Steeler, and he took a chance on himself to go to Philly to go into a 4-3 defense, and he just broke out. Three great years in Philly, a Pro Bowl nod, I think, in his second year in Philly. He is 30, he is growing, but like you mentioned with Hayward, kind of gets better. Like wine gets better with age. Yeah. And that's what Hargrave does.
Yeah. I will throw a curveball here. This is not one of my top 3. This isn't even one of my top priorities. But I noticed this guy's on the free agency list again. And I don't know why. I just can't escape this guy. And I fool myself into thinking the Steelers might bring him in because of the prior history from the draft. Andrew Billings. Who remembers him?
Oh, man. Wow.
Who remembers Andrew Billings, man?
That's a name from the past right there.
Previously mocked in the first round in 2016 to the Steelers numerous times. Went to the Bengals, and he hasn't really found much success. I'm not saying we should bring him in, but I don't know, that old Steeler connection. They haven't brought him in since, even though he's been a free agent a couple times. So I'm not saying they are going to bring him in, but for depth purposes and possibly as a fill-in start if necessary, I mean.
And the interest was there in the past.
Yeah.
So
I'm just going to throw that out there. I mean, there's many other names at D-tackle. Kalen Sanders of the Chiefs, big boy. little undersized. He's like only 6 foot, but doesn't play like it. So D tackle can be very much filled in free agency. I will say that.
Yeah, for sure. And my third guy for linebacker, I mean, you guys already know how I feel about linebacker. It's been a big glaring hole since Shazier's injury. We all know this.
You made a great article on Still Injures.
Yeah, he did.
The guys that we tried to plug and play and find as a replacement to Shazier, I don't even have to go by the names. We all know who they were, and they have not succeeded one bit. Not even one good year, outside of Devin Bush in his rookie year, but he never amounted to that, whether he had the injury or not.
Seems like everyone's been a 1 year, half-year rental.
Essentially. And
which that's got to stop.
With free agency, I think they have to find their guy, and I think that one guy is Tremaine Edmunds. He's a shy older than Devin Bush, but he was a big key factor in that great Buffalo Bills defense for the past couple years. He plays his role very well. He's not a splashy guy. He's not a guy that's going to make turnovers here, turnovers there, but he's a guy that fills his role, gets the job done. His cover skills are very insane. He's a big guy, too. He's like over 6'5" or something like that, or just about 6'5". He's a speedy guy. He's got the same speed as Devin Bush did. And his run defense is, I wouldn't say it's as good as his cover skills are, but it's dependable.
Right. And
Tremaine Edmunds, Terrell did say after the season, would you like your brother to come to Pittsburgh? He said, I'd be interested in it, a package sort of deal, get the Edmunds brothers to pair in this defense because, the Steelers love the bloodline. They love having brothers in on the team. Look at the Watt brothers. Look at the Hayward brothers. They love the bloodlines.
The Davis twins, obviously. Obviously, Edmunds is going to be one of the bigger paid free agents this year because of just his history and his grade. And he's not even 25 yet. He's got so much room to build, which also is a reason why Bush pisses me off. He's not even 25. And,
not even 25 years old, and this guy...
He's on his way out.
He's on his way out. So.
That is so disappointing, man.
A little bit.
But replacing him with Tremaine Edmunds would be great. Obviously, he's going to be on everyone's wish list. Maybe not everyone, but the majority of Steelers Nation's wish list, so we'll see.
Yeah. A taller option, just as athletic. His ability's really good. I think he'd be a great addition to this defense.
Now, what about you, Cole? Who you got?
Oh, man. I don't know how you guys are going to feel about I don't know how anybody in the comments are going to feel about this. And I do want to touch in. You guys should definitely go down in the comment section here on YouTube if you are watching on YouTube. Let us know what you think about these guys, the guys we're mentioning. Do you think the Steelers should go after any of these players? Obviously, they're not going to go after every single one of them. We're just kind of throwing spaghetti at a wall. It is the offseason, so, we're just trying to have a little fun here. My first guy, and this is based on the idea, and this kind of ties in with Tremaine here, there's a possibility that we don't go and re-sign Terrell Edmunds.
Mm-hmm.
So they're obviously going to need a safety, and when I look at the draft, outside of Branch, you got Johnson. I really don't know any other players in regards to the draft that can really feel, the starting role there at safety. I could be wrong. Maybe I need to do more research, but outside of Branch, I just don't see it. So, after all this time, I'm going to finally say it. Julian Love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he's 25 years old. He's a ball hawk. He has a diverse skill set. As far as PFF goes, his 2022 stats, he played over 1,000 snaps. He had a career high of 71.5 coverage grade, which in my book is very solid. Anything over 70 is pretty solid.
Yeah.
And as far as contracts go, and you're going to see a theme here with all my picks. 3 years, $8 million per year.
Yeah.
So affordable in my book. Again, they're going to have to make some cap space there, but what do you guys think about Julian Love?
I've always liked Julian Love, man. Coming out of Notre Dame, I always thought he'd be a very solid slot guy.
Yeah.
But him transitioning to safety, I've seen the Giants use him there. I'm like, oh, they might have a little versatile piece here. Someone that can play in the box, in the slot. Very versatile guy is Love. And he's not even 25 yet as well. So another young guy, someone can get pretty cheap.
And he's showcased so much dependability. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe he's actually one of their defensive captains on the defense.
Well, and you know what else, too? And this is another reason I put him at the top for me. And again, this is based on the idea of Edmunds not coming back.
Right. Because that's a realistic possibility.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things we always give Edmunds credit for is his tackling ability. Well, this guy not only has the ball hawk ability, but he's a good tackler. So I think you put those two things together, it makes sense, especially if the Steelers do decide to let Edmunds finally walk, which, and I almost forgot to mention this, they have a history of doing that.
Yeah.
They get a guy from a rookie contract. He comes in. They don't pick up his fifth-year option, but they bring him back anyways for a cheap, deal. And then he just walks. We've seen that with Bud Dupree. I think we've seen that with other players that I can't think of off the top of my head.
Juju especially.
Yeah. So
I mean, he didn't have the fifth-year option,
right.
but yes, I mean that trend is there. But yeah, Love. I remember a couple years back, because the Giants at one point had a very stacked secondary. I remember thinking, man, is there a possibility we could trade for this guy? Because I knew the whole Mike Hilton, him leaving, we were stuck without a slot guy, still are. But yeah, with the whole safety aspect and possibly having a hole there beside Minka, I like that a lot, actually.
So I guess I should mention the next guy on this list, and this is middle linebacker, and it's not Tremaine Edmunds. I'm sticking with the theme that, we're not going to get Terrell back. And I'm just going to say, I said this in one of my episodes on the Good Steelers Morning Show. If the Steelers don't bring back Edmunds, I can't imagine a world where Tremaine comes here.
Right.
It's weird to say that because it just because one guy goes doesn't mean the other guy won't come.
Yeah.
But I really think that Terrell made an effort at saying this during the offseason that if he comes back, it's a package deal. And again, I know it sounds weird to say that, but I'd like to think that there's some truth to it. And they obviously speak to each other. And he's going to be like, nah, man, don't go there. Don't go there. If I can't come back, you can't go there.
Yeah.
And with them being free agents, both of them being free agents this offseason, they have the opportunity to actually play together.
Exactly.
You know for sure that's got to be a dream come true.
It's almost like the stars have aligned there. You know?
Wow, that is some wild stuff, honestly.
Yeah. So the next guy I got here is middle linebacker Jermaine Pratt, Bengal player. He'll be 27 years old by the time the season starts. And with everything the Bengals got going on, they got a lot of extensions to make. Obviously, their quarterback's coming up soon. I don't know if they're going to have the cap space to offer, Pratt a deal that he's going to want.
Considering Jesse Bates is coming up.
Bates is coming up. Von Bell.
Logan Wilson. Von Bell's a free agent this year. I mean, Jamar Chase, obviously. Safeties. T. Higgins, which he might get traded. So, I mean, you're right. Jermaine Pratt might be one of those guys where he just might be just honestly kind of the odd man out because of just the contract.
That's another theme that you're seeing with a lot of teams is there's always going to be one guy that's going to be the odd man out for a lot of these powerhouses. And we knew this was coming. The Eagles are another example of that. So as far as Pratt goes, 90.1 coverage grade.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. That's been something the Steelers haven't had, right? A linebacker that can cover.
Yeah, it's been a long minute since we had that.
Dude, it's been one of the biggest gripes we've had as far as the middle linebacker position. That and dependency there.
He's actually coming off a career year as well. I mean, he's been one of the few guys where the Bengals had drafted and homegrown their guys like Bates, guys like Logan Wilson, guys like Jermaine Pratt, and they've been staple mates on that defense, which has been very underrated, may I add. And Pratt, I always liked him coming out of NC State. And I looked closely at him when he was a Bengal just to see how he was because he was one of my guys when he was drafted.
Right.
He's always been productive in my book.
And he's also he's pretty good at run defending, which is another area we struggled with at middle linebacker. And by the way, that 90.1 overall grade, he's carried that since week 8.
Yeah.
So there's a consistency thing there as well. And to me, it just makes sense. And not to mention, as far as contract goes, he's going to be looking for 3 years, $8 million.
Yeah.
Average.
That's a very, very affordable deal.
Very affordable.
Very, very Miles Jack-like. Very affordable.
Again, he is going to be 27, so he's a little up there in age. Not drastically bad or anything.
Similar to Jack, though.
Yeah, similar to Jack, exactly. And putting him next to Jack, I think that's a winning solution there. Maybe they bring back Robert Spillane again for depth.
Yeah.
Or they got, Robinson?
Yep.
Maybe they get somebody in the draft late. I don't know, maybe mid. I don't know. I just feel like that's a win-win for the Steelers if they go that route. Again, they're going to have to free up some cap space, but they always do that.
Yeah.
They always do that. Last but not least, I have a right tackle.
Right tackle.
Right tackle. I know that's a little weird. We need left tackle, but the Steelers, for some reason, have been focused on right tackle.
They have.
Now, granted, when I say that, they've been focused in the draft
And the Senior Bowl, all they've looked at is right tackles.
But it makes me think that maybe they're going to move Chucks to the left.
Yeah, that's been a thought that's been thrown out there. Shout out to Steel Sentinel. He even threw that thought out there in our first mock, which kind of threw me off. I'm like, well, it's a possibility because that's where he started.
Yeah.
And then obviously he was switched to right and has been there since 2020, I believe. So, and he's been dependable there. So that's the thing with Chucks. He's dependable at any spot. Do they do that? And let's say they do that. Is that them thinking, and this is just hypothetical, I'm not throwing any accusations out there. Is that them thinking that they can't get a left tackle due to cap reasons or due to their position in the draft, and they're going to trust Chucks at left tackle and focus on getting a right tackle in free agency or the draft?
Yeah, and all that's a possibility. And you know, it's just reality too. Like, you're not going to fix every position in one offseason. We seen that last year, right? And here we are. So I think we're still a few years away. Who knows? Maybe we'll sneak back in the playoffs. I hope so. You know, if this team can get back to the playoffs, that'd be great.
We were almost playoff bound last year.
Exactly. And by the way, I'll give you guys the player. It's Khalid McGarry. The big thing with him is his run blocking ability. That's why I selected him. Not to mention, he is up there in age, 28, and he's probably the highest on my list as far as money goes. And that's usually the case with linemen, especially the older they get, they want to get a nice little payout.
Was he given the 5th-year option? Because I know he had a first-round grade in 2019.
I'm not sure if he got it. Let's see. He had his 5th-year option decline for 2023.
Wow.
And he responded with a career year. So, and obviously the Falcons have the option of franchise tagging him, which is possible. But if they don't, my vision here is you get this guy in, his grade is 91.6 at run blocking.
Yeah.
At the right tackle position. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe my eyes don't work anymore. But if I remember correctly, Kenny goes out that right side. He likes to run out of the pocket. That sounds like a good idea for me.
And I've noticed, and not to throw any negative at Chucks, but when they do those toss routes to the right side, Chucks is the lead block. He can't play that.
No, and you get a guy, again, 91.6 run blocking grade. I know some people don't really care for PFF's grades, but
you see what he did for Cordell Patterson? Tyler Algier, mid-round guy, 1,000 yards as the fill-in. And this guy was one of the lead guys. So, you know what? I like that. Caleb McGarry, still young, first-round pedigree, which the Steelers adore. I could see it, man.
Now, I mean, his pass blocking grade's a little lower, 66.9. Not ideal. Like I said, you want a guy in his 70s to kind of say, okay, this guy's solid there for the most part. But maybe he can improve on that. You know, a new team, maybe he has more fire. I don't know. But more importantly, the Steelers are, whether we like it or not, they're kind of a run-based team now.
Yeah.
Based on what Rooney wanted. That's what he wanted, a run-heavy offense, and that's what we got. Again, unfortunately for, I think, the three of us in this room here, you can see it on your faces. You're just like, I don't know. I don't like the sound of that. But, yeah, so 91.6 grade for McGarry. 4 years, $13 million.
$13 million a year?
$13 million a year.
Not terrible.
Not terrible. Again, they would have to make a lot of room, and that is a little pricey. But I just like the idea of getting a guy that high in regards to run blocking.
I wasn't even thinking right tackle because I was so fixated on Chucks at right and remaining there. It's possible he gets tossed to left. I'm not going to throw out that possibility. I'd keep Chucks at right, but I'm not the Steelers. I don't make the decisions. So, honestly, we'll see what they do. But
well, if I'm being honest, I had to pick somebody else. You guys kind of took some of the other names. Tremaine was one of the guys that I was really thinking.
I tried to throw a curveball with Azeez Al-Shaair from the Niners, but
yeah, well, that's the guys we got. Obviously, you guys in the comments, if you're watching on YouTube, definitely consider leaving a comment and let us know who you think the Steelers should bring in as far as free agents go. And I guess we'll respond and look at what you guys have to say.
Well, to throw a nice little curveball into the discussion, instead of disregard players, what top 3 positions do you think the Steelers should focus on mostly in free agency? Not the draft, not this offseason, but free agency specifically.
And we'll get into that at a later date as far as draft stuff.
Yeah.
Free agency, I think middle linebacker's got to be up there.
I plan on making this an article on Still Yinders.
Yeah.
But let's make it like a impromptu discussion right now. I agree, middle linebacker most important.
I think middle linebacker, again, the way I'm viewing this is you got to look at the draft. What positions have a lot of players available deep into the draft? Cornerback is one of them. And then you look at versus free agency. Cornerback's not really deep in free agency this year.
No.
So, the Steelers, there's all this talk about them getting a veteran guy in. Well, you're going to have to make a trade for a guy like Ramsey, who's on the tail end of his career, which I talked about him as well this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, we're recording this on Tuesday, so
Tuesday night.
Anything can happen between now and Thursday, and if that happens, it happens. But we wanted to record this early to get things going. But yeah, I think middle linebacker is definitely maybe number one for me as far as positions go.
Yeah.
In free agency. Outside of that, offensive line and defensive line.
Yeah.
I think those three areas, you could probably get somebody in there and fill one of those gaps.
I'd have to agree. If I had to be specific, and I kind of said this when I named my top three guys, linebacker, D tackle, and left guard. Because I think we can get a franchise left tackle in the draft, but we got the flexibility to do so.
Yeah, we do. I have to agree. Left guard, middle linebacker, and D tackle. Get some flexibility in the draft. Focus on those guys based on the names in free agency. I think you can grab some of them and fix your holes and get some good players on those positions.
It would definitely allow them to focus on the areas that are rich in the draft if they plug up some of these other holes that they don't have to worry about then.
I like the way you worded that, rich.
Exactly. It's very rich. Cornerback's very rich.
Very.
Which is great.
Very. It's a good problem for the Steelers to have.
It is. And I had people comment today on the Good Steelers morning show basically saying, hey, the Steelers never been good at drafting corner. And I agree, but I can't help but it won't escape me the idea of Tomlin wanting to get that one guy to say, hey, I did draft a good cornerback,
And to throw the roses at Terrell Austin and Grady Brown, our secondary coaches, ever since they came in, the secondary has been boosted in terms of production, but especially development.
Yeah, 2022 is just, come on.
I mean, our corners since Terrell Austin specifically came in has been very progressive. I mean,
not just that, but the lack of turnovers.
You're right.
And ever since he came in as a Steelers defensive back coach before becoming defensive coordinator, I mean, our secondary has been one of the better parts of the team.
So I trust our current staff to develop corners, and I'm not shying away from not drafting a corner at any round because, we can't do it. Yeah, 5 years ago we couldn't do it. Yeah. Now, who's to say we...
This is a different administration with Omar Khan and Andy Weidel now calling the shots and picking the players.
And this is a good year to draft that position anywhere you want because it's so stacked and guys are going to fall.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys are definitely going to fall. They fall every season. Majority of the time, a lot of the mock draft boards you see, especially around this time frame, never really pan out.
No.
Which is why me personally, I kind of refrain from diving too quickly into it too deeply because I want to wait to see what happens with free agency. But going back to what we were saying, middle linebacker just has to be free. The more I think about it now, you got Drew Sanders, you got a few other names out there that they could go with. But I feel like with the middle linebacker position, it has to be one of those areas that you have to get a veteran.
Yeah, you do.
You got to get a guy that has the experience because we've suffered too long at that position.
Way too long. And you got to get a veteran and you got to get athleticism. Those are the two most important things we need at that position. We got Jack, and the whole talk of cutting Jack to save $8 million or whatever, it's blasphemous to me because if you cut Jack, then you're absolutely left with zero dependability. Who are you going to start? Mark Robinson and who under contract?
And it's one of my favorite things I've said all season is, or all off season, when you cut a guy, you open another hole.
Yes.
Yeah. And we got enough holes to fill.
Too many.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, I'm not cutting Miles Jack. In fact, I think he's going to continue to improve. Did he have a down year? I guess that's arguable. He didn't have the most stellar year.
No.
By a long shot, but he was solid to me in comparison to Devin Bush.
Yeah. Oh, my God. I mean, that's not saying much, but yes, you're absolutely right.
Dude, I saw people today on Twitter making excuses, he's not a bust because of injury.
I'm about to make this entire podcast a Devin Bush rant, dude. Let me just say this right now, man. In my opinion, this is my own personal experience. Okay, you guys might experience other guys from past years, prior years, maybe even deeper further before I was even alive, okay? in my personal experience and seeing what we gave up for him, Devin Bush is the most disappointing player the Steelers have drafted, that Kevin Colbert has drafted, because replacing Shazier was a necessity, and sure, it was big shoes to fill, still is.
And at the time, the Steelers had to make the move.
They did.
They had no choice but to make the move.
They did. They had to trade up from 20 to 10, and they got Bush. We were all excited. Great rookie year, right? But seeing what we traded up for him, man, and seeing that he's not even 25 yet, and he has that mentality of, well, I'm just a first-round pick.
No, I'm a top 10 pick, so I don't have anything to prove.
I'm still going to be around the NFL, so whatever.
That was the big one for me,
Yeah, that absolutely sold
I have nothing to prove. I'm going to be in the NFL regardless.
There were people actually saying that Bush improved throughout the season and we should bring him back for another prove-a-year deal. Why would you do that?
Yeah, he improved so much that Mike Tomlin benched his ass in the final, 2 or 3 weeks.
I'm going to say this right now, man. I feel like this is powerful. A former top 10 pick got benched by a bottom 10 top 10 pick.
That speaks volumes.
Yeah.
Volumes. Devin Bush is a bust, folks. Whether you like it or not, I know it's one of those weird things too. We see it all the time. Certain fans will what's the right word here? Simp.
I was just about to say that.
Is that banned on YouTube? Whatever. They simp over certain players, which is bizarre to me. And I mean, you have favorites and stuff, but man, simping over Bush, that is like rock bottom. That's rock bottom.
I never understood it.
The only thing that makes sense to me is maybe this guy invested a lot in Bush and just doesn't want to let go of the fact that he lost a lot of money.
Yeah. Bush is just it saddens me when I really think about it. Man, he could have been something good.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
Yeah.
You're a bust, Bush. I guess since we're on this topic, who else on the current roster would you say is in that realm as far as whether they're free agents or not? Who needs to go?
Who needs to go?
Kendrick Green.
Yes. You took the words out of my mouth.
The dude switched from center to which he was awful in his rookie year. He got benched for C.J. Hasenauer, who was an undrafted center. And Hasenauer, who's a natural center, actually looked better, made the offensive line look better toward the end of the 2021 season. But then he turned to guard to compete with Dotson, and he actually looked worse. He looked worse at the guard position, but yet somehow he managed to stay with the team, make the 53-man roster, although I feel like the only reason he made it because he was a former third-round pick.
But I don't even hold on to that as a possible reason because Alex Leatherwood, first rounder of the Raiders, cut around the final cuts. Wyatt Davis, a fellow third rounder from last year for the Vikings, cut. Why would we keep Green?
Because we're concerned. Because some of our guys are conservative.
He was in every game inactive. Thank God.
Yeah,
but what we could have signed the Walmart greeting guy to be left guard, and there's no difference, man.
Oh no.
We could have gotten the giant eagle greeting guy, man.
So let me push back and make some conversation here. What if, there's a small chance, and I don't want to compare players, but I have to. Mm-hmm. What if this is a Bud Dupree thing where maybe he improves with time? Do you guys see that happening in any sense? Because remember, Edmunds was kind of well, that's kind of disrespectful, but it's a little disrespectful. But I'm trying to make a point. Yeah, can he improve?
He can absolutely improve.
So,
but what I saw last year in preseason and training camp, there was not one positive.
But in all fairness, the entire line,
true,
was really.
But he swore out like a sore thumb.
He did, and you know what else too? I looking back, man, going back to that preseason, it looked rough, and it kind of like we're like, this can't happen in the regular season, right? And then you see the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was. He might be the worst offensive lineman I've ever seen. And I know I keep throwing biggest disappointment and worst, but I'm genuine. Like, I have not seen an offensive lineman that bad. I have not seen someone get thrown back so many times.
Yeah, he spent a lot of time sitting on the grass.
Yeah, he got pancaked when that's his job.
Yeah, Green. You're supposed to be doing the pancaking, and you're the one getting flattened on the field. That is just not good.
And what we passed on him for.
Don't remember.
I know, and I'd honestly rather move on before we get into an entirely different discussion.
Yeah, because I've beaten that horse way too many times. So we're not even gonna, if you guys been a fan of either one of our channels, you know who we're referring to and what we're talking about here, because we've talked about it again more than we want to.
Here, let's flip the camera to me. I'm just gonna do the Palomalo real quick.
Twice. Oh man.
All right, moving on, man.
Yeah, right now we're just kind of freestyling. We had a few ideas of what we would talk about.
This is what the podcast is going to be like.
Yeah, it's going to be more freestyle. We're going to kind of just go off the rails every so often.
Bounce off each other.
By the way, I'm in charge of switching camera angles, so I'm kind of doing this. Hopefully I'm doing a good job. I guess we can get ready to close this out, though. We're closing in on roughly, 40-some minutes.
Oh, wow. See, time flies.
Time flies. And again, I guess we should finish this off by talking about some of the things we're going to be doing on future episodes.
Yeah.
There will be debates. We're not going to always be agreeing with each other. I'm going to come up with ways to argue, which we do in real life, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Me and Rob even last summer, what was that? Minka.
I'm saying it's live right now.
Go ahead.
You said Minka was not a playmaker. You said he wasn't dependable.
Man, we're about to get a bunch of dislikes for that, but I just wasn't on the Minka train for some reason.
What do you think? What do you think now?
Well, I was wrong.
Okay, good.
I'm taking some crows.
6 picks, led the league, tied the league in picks.
I was wrong. I was basing it off the season prior. I felt like he was, and I've seen this criticism from other people too. He was quiet.
He was quiet.
I felt like it was a down year.
What did we say that year? He played linebacker.
Yeah, he did. And maybe I wasn't thinking that.
Ryan Clark even said it.
That's true. Yeah. So yeah, I was wrong. I was absolutely freaking wrong. But yeah, we're gonna be bringing up debates. We're gonna just talk about all the news. We're gonna be going off the rails occasionally, like we kind of did here, because none of that was planned. The whole Bush thing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I do want to mention is the mics. These are obviously the new mics, and hopefully everything sounds good for you guys. But we're gonna be getting stands, so you might hear a little bit of banging on the tables here for this episode. Not too much, but. If you do, just keep that in mind. We will be upgrading. We're not done in the room yet. In fact, these boys here...
Not even done by a long shot. I mean,
done by a long shot.
This is actually the first time we're showing off the Franco jersey, which...
Yes.
I can't believe I forgot I had that. That was stuffed in my closet full of so much other gear I've got to show off.
Dude, you got kind of emotional when you pulled that out. I'm not going to say why, but...
For 2 reasons, but yes.
2 reasons,
yeah. I'm so mad at myself. Because if I knew that months ago around the obvious time, man, I would have been up months ago.
It's a beautiful jersey.
It is, man.
Beautiful.
Glad we got it up.
And speaking of walls and stuff, obviously this is we are in the same room, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to be taking over this space over here. It's not a lot to work with, but I ordered some stuff online, and I'll be bringing some of my personal belongings over. Although, if you guys look over right behind Rob, that's one of mine right there, the Franco Harris. Probably that picture is important.
Yeah.
The more I think about it.
That's why we're all here. It's why all this exists.
Exactly. And honestly, man, imagine if I did get that signed. Unfortunately, he passed.
Yeah, we were, yeah. Damn.
He's been around this area too. That's the weird thing. So it could have happened and just never aligned for me, unfortunately. That said, man, I think that's going to be a wrap for episode 1. Obviously, we will be back next week for episode 2. I don't know what we're going to be talking about next week, but the goal here over the summer is we're going to try to get a schedule. We're going to do that over time. It's going to take some time, so you guys got to bear with us. But I would say to expect episodes between Wednesday and Fridays. This is obviously going up Thursday, but I think Wednesday or to Friday is a fair, assessment there.
Yeah, it's a fair bet to make for sure. For weekly episodes, definitely coming. And hopefully the Steelers got some news so we can make easier talking points. But it's going to be fun as we get this thing continue to keep on rolling and stuff. As in the next coming weeks, months, it's all going to be nothing but news. So it's going to be an exciting time.
And when there isn't any news, we'll come up with stuff. I know some people don't like that, and for those people that don't, we'll see you when the season comes around. I guess some of us are different. We talk Steelers 24/7, no matter what time of the year it is. It doesn't matter if it's summer, spring, winter, fall, whatever. We're going to talk Steelers. That's the kind of fans we are. We're not fans only when the season's in motion.
Yeah, we're not seasonal. We're all year round, man.
And it's not a shot. It's just, that's what this is. So, yeah, we do the speculation stuff. I know it's not for everybody, but for those that do enjoy the content, make sure you guys hit the like button if you're on YouTube. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. If you're listening to the audio version, make sure you follow us on Spotify as well and hit that like button. I think there's a like button on Spotify.
There is.
Yeah. So,
Plus, give it a 5-star rating. And, of course, check out SteelYinzers.com. We got more articles coming up shortly. In fact, we just got one up talking about how the Steelers need to strike with Kenny, which I think could be a great discussion for an episode coming up soon. So, possibly during the offseason after the draft, seeing what they do, I think that'll be a great talking point for around July time before preseason comes around. But, yeah, I got an article up about that, so definitely check that out. More stuff's coming out, but SteelTwins.com. It's only going to grow.
It's only going to go up. I'm actually going to be working all weekend, making some changes over there. We got some exciting features coming. We got giveaways coming down the road as well, which will be a part of the website. You guys got a podcast. I keep forgetting to mention that. You guys want to let them know what's coming as far as your personal podcast?
Yes, we have the SteelTwins podcast, which has been a little inactive since pretty much late into the season, only due to timing and work scheduling. But the plan is it's kind of like this one, but try to get one out every Sunday or so. Just talking about just random stuff. Obviously talking about Steelers a little bit, but just pretty much just spitballing and letting it flow free about whatever we want to talk about. So maybe stuff about personal experiences, life, just anything that's going on. So
it's going to be a little bit of a transition from what you guys were doing prior.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, when the season comes around, I'm sure you'll be more football heavy. And I know you guys were discussing potentially making it, short form almost instead of like a very long podcast. But you guys should definitely be on the lookout for that. Steel City Podcast, man. I don't know if we ever really properly
announced it.
We announced it, but did we really dive into
what it is?
Yeah, what it exactly is. I guess we'll do that now. Why not? Essentially, it was an idea that I accidentally fell into. Originally, we were just trying to set up a podcast, and I ended up with my own network. I'm going to shorten the story. I got an interview or a meeting with Spotify, and then from there, I talked to Rob and Dan here, and we're putting our heads together. We're starting our own podcast network. What that means is we're going to have a bunch of different podcasts on the same network under the same umbrella. Mm-hmm. And we want to bring in other people into the fold as well.
Yeah, certain guys that you guys might be familiar with, man. That's going to come in the future, especially once the season comes around. It's going to be fun. I'm very excited about the potential there.
We got some stuff to pan out in regards to, everything.
We got long-term booking going, man.
Long-term booking, man. So, I think that's it, though. SteelYinzers.com. Make sure you guys are following us on Twitter at SteelYinzers. Make sure you guys are following the Steel Twins at SteelTwins. I would say me, but my name is extremely hard to spell.
You will find everything you need at the Steel Yinzers Twitter and website. So
I'm not even sure if I'm keeping my my personal page long term.
But to make it short and make it easier, everything that you need to know and find is the SteelYinzers.com website.
Yeah. So that said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get on out of here. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to let you guys do the outro as always.
Rob, go ahead.
Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!